Good evening, Kelly Darwin,
Good evening, John Dresick.
candidate for Langford Wanda Fuca. And this
Mm.
is our inaugural Friday evening. Which politician would you rather have a beer with? And shall we
Yeah.
toast? Shall
Well,
we toast to that?
there's only one politician on the Zoom, so
Yeah, well, you know what? We've tried for now half an hour to go live.
yeah, yeah.
And
Facebook's having
something's up with
issues.
Facebook, or a bazillion people are doing this. But this is meant to be in jest and fun.
Yeah, yeah. I'd like a
Uh,
recap of the week,
yeah, we're both at home.
and
We're not driving anywhere. Just so we say that.
and you're having a wine,
I know.
and I'm having a
Wow.
Dino Sour from Phillips,
Wow.
which if you haven't tried this, it's fantastic. It's a
What?
blackberry sour ale.
What?
Really, really good.
Are you kidding?
Really
Okay,
good.
I'll have to do that.
Yeah.
So we're trying to be semi-serious here. So anyone who thinks we're going to be, leave.
I
Uh,
wanted to start out with something quick.
yeah,
You see behind me this picture of Anthony Bourdain.
yeah, love that man.
I've had a few people because it's in some of the campaign material and stuff. People have been asking about it,
Yeah,
and it's a canvas. It's a painting.
yeah.
It was done by Jessie Guns from I know she's in Okanagan. I think it's Penticton, but if
Okay.
you look her up on Instagram, her Instagram title is Good Talk Art Co. So
Yeah,
Good Talk Art Company,
yeah, yeah.
and she does these amazing celebrity paintings. And I saw this one, and I'm a huge Anthony Bourdain fan.
Yeah, me too.
And so I messaged her, and I was able to buy it. And she wrapped it all up and shipped it down, and it's fantastic. It's like the almost the centerpiece of our dining room.
I just love it. I think that should be your background for all of our events. Can you show it again?
Hmm. Let's see if I do it this way.
Oh man.
I don't know. Isn't it
Oh
gorgeous? One of a
man.
kind.
Just stunning. What a
Love it.
tragedy. Hey, on this Friday night when generally people drink wine and they drink beer
Yeah.
and they kind of unwind for the week, and they generally have a meal. I just think that entire part of you that is a foodie, and for those who don't know what that is, those are people that almost make food. And uh, Bourdain was a foodie. I mean, they're interested in everything about food,
Yeah.
almost more than just eating it. Whereas, of course,
Yeah.
I just eat it. You're changing me though. And you and I have talked a lot about
Hmm.
food sustainability, food security, agriculture, supply chains, production chains, especially out in the peninsula. And we are trying to find folks on the West Shore who would fall into that category.
Right.
And I suppose, Friday night, who would you rather have a beer with is not really about serious issues, but where is that kind of thing in the West Shore? Is it out Souk Way? Is that kind of where
Oh,
you
the
hey?
the artisans out Soukwe are amazing.
Oh,
There's so much stuff coming out of Souk. Like we could spend a whole well, I mean, this is a very short campaign, but if we were leading up to one and it was planned, we could
yeah.
spend a whole time out there and just going to different farm stands and producers and makers.
Well, hold on,
Oh,
Kelly. I didn't know this. What?
mhm.
Give me just give me a couple minutes, because I thought it was all peninsula. I'm wrong. So, so on the bookends of our Lower Vancouver Island region
Right.
are these extraordinary food-related businesses.
Yeah, and I think we've talked before that before I started my web company, I was a chef.
Yeah,
So I have my red seal, and so I take food probably a little more seriously than I should. And that's flowed into things like craft beer and whiskey, and I'm definitely an enthusiast in all of those areas.
that's what I love about our friendship. I want to take more advantage of this.
So the idea of tonight is like a wrap up of the week,
Yeah.
and it's been a heck of a week.
Heck
I
of a
mean,
day.
we didn't get a chance to talk about the subtleties and intricacies of the presidential debate down south. Luckily, there wasn't any. It was just a couple of guys yelling at each other. But I mean, that's moving so quickly. We haven't had a chance to talk about that on a podcast, and now we have Donald Trump's in the hospital right now.
I don't think he's going to survive, Kelly.
Oh, I don't know. I read an interesting article in the Washington Post from Michael Moore that he has a couple theories of, and I thought of this one was, well, maybe he's going to try to use this to delay the election, or there's some sort of underlying
conspiracy
in there.
Yeah.
But Michael Moore, what his idea was, well, what if he's forced to step down, Pence becomes president, and then pardons Donald Trump?
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
Donald just walks away.
I've heard, in fact, before this all craziness happened, or this illness happened, that with Trump, it's been happening for 9 months. But that in fact, if he lost, and he finally accepted it, he would resign anyway in the interim, so that before inauguration, Pence would be the president and then pardon him. It's the only way he's going to stay out of jail. How do you relate? Okay, I'm putting you on the spot, Friday night spot, because you're the politician I want to have a beer with. How would you relate sort of the health crisis in the States, in BC, and then really what are you bringing to the campaign that involved this health crisis? What is it? What point do you want to make?
Like with COVID or
just health and COVID and how it's impacted our community.
I mean, right now I'm being in a campaign. There's a number of things that have come up. Mm-hmm. And when I dropped off my nomination papers at Elections BC, I was super impressed, right? Because they've had zero notice. Well, actually, they've had worse than zero notice because they were planning on a next year election. Because we have legislated election dates, so they had a plan, and all of a sudden that whole year got thrown out the window. Mm-hmm. So now they have to scramble not only to do the regular, like just get polling stations, get volunteers, get workers in there, print the ballots. But now we went from, I heard somebody say last election there was around 6,000 or 6,500 mail-in ballots requested, and right now we're almost at 500,000.
Yeah, right.
Like just think about that from a logistics standpoint.
Yeah.
If somebody came to me and wanted 10 proposals that I would print out on paper, I'd have to go to Staples and get more paper.
Yeah.
Right? Because we don't do that many in a week.
Yeah.
So just the logistics of how do they get enough paper, enough envelopes, enough everything to get that done. And of course, they're going out with no names because the deadline was today.
Right.
People have already voted.
Like they're going out with no names. Okay. So it's, you showed, you had a neat post on your Facebook page about how, and you took a couple of pictures of what these things look like. I think it was you. Yeah, I do.
I took a picture outside.
Outside, yeah, of one of these.
But even that
ballots, and there are no names.
Right. No, I have. Yeah, I did receive my ballot already. I haven't.
Oh, I get it. Okay.
But just think about the locations, because we have schools and they're in the absolute right. They should not be doing election day. Should not be held at schools.
Yeah.
That's you don't have a whole bunch of kids in a building and then bring in a bunch of strangers. Like we have bubbles for a reason, right?
Yeah.
So just the logistics of finding spots.
Yeah.
So not luckily, tragically, there's a lot of retail businesses that haven't survived COVID. Mm-hmm. But there's, I guess, luckily for Elections BC, there's empty spaces available. So we have one set up at Millstream Village there that I went to, and I don't know.
But here's another logistical mess. So you've got, as per your post, you have to write down either the party, which is BC Liberal Party, or the candidate, which is
Right.
Kelly Darwin. Well, what if I do this? Because that's how the world works. I want the guy with the Anthony Bourdain picture in there. Right? Somebody's going to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet the ruined ballots are going to be such a high percentage. Anyway,
Well,
what are we going to do?
and I hope that there's some. I hope they take into consideration enough gray area around some of this, because what if somebody? So a lot of people confuse the federal Liberals and the BC Liberals, and the NDP the same, right?
Yeah.
They're completely different parties, completely different platforms. So what if somebody writes down Liberal instead of BC Liberal?
Right.
I hope that still counts. I mean,
Right.
but it's these things, and so let's just say that all that goes smoothly.
Yeah.
Which it's not.
Yeah.
Then they got to count, and we're how many days in? Are we six days in? 5
About a
days
weekend, I think. Yeah, something like that.
and they've already had almost 500,000 requests. We're so now effectively we're going to have no government in the province of British Columbia for 8 to 10 weeks in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
Yeah, no, well, that is a pretty sober way of relating to what's happening elsewhere, and it doesn't have to happen tonight, because these are meant to be brief, and they're meant to be fun, and they're meant to be sort of is the word esoteric, so where we just talk about random things, but
just sorry interrupting you, but talking about the difference between the two elections.
Yeah.
The difference between the two elections is when you have a new president, you still have a Senate and a Congress and everybody, and the government's still doing stuff.
Yeah.
Somebody's in charge while they're campaigning, and somebody's in charge before the new one gets sworn in.
Yeah.
We don't have that on a provincial level. We're in what's called caretaker mode.
Yeah.
Or what they call in the States during their Congress and Senate elections, I think both they call it lame duck, right? That's the lame duck ones that aren't running again.
Yeah.
They can't make major decisions, and yet we're in a pandemic where we need a health minister, we need an education minister. Totally.
But we don't have to talk about today, and I really like your idea of bringing in business people onto this end of week session, and having folks talk to us about the same issues. But you're right, this week was like a bazillion issues. So why don't we end it, because you and I likely want to have a few more beers and a few more wines. Any kind of just end of your first week, this is your first time as a candidate, your first political run. I'm extraordinarily proud of you. I think it's a ton of courage. You're representing that man behind you so well, at least on the surface. I don't know what really happened to him, but what are your thoughts as we end up our first Friday session?
It's been interesting.
Okay.
We made a conscious decision early on that we want to have a clean campaign.
Yeah.
I think that you can find good points in all the platforms. You can find good things in all the people. We don't need to concentrate on the negative. We see what that does down south of us.
Yeah.
So we want to have a good campaign. We want to keep the issues top of mind. We want to talk about the things. We want to spread some ideas and talk about ideas. Yeah. And we're starting to get people now contacting us with their own ideas, which is really exciting because,
wow.
It's government should never be about one person.
Yeah.
It should be about a collective group that come together, share ideas, and then move forward. In a Stephen Covey said, in a synergistic way.
That's
what
inspiring.
We need to do. So we're going to keep trying to do that.
Well, that's really inspiring. You should run for politics.
I don't know. I heard it's a little rough.
Okay, well, let's try to get you through to the second week. Okay, my friend, have a great evening, and I'm sure we'll talk to you over the weekend. And we'll be trying to go on Facebook Live next week. We'll try to get this. We do have it figured out. I think Facebook doesn't have it figured out. I think they're changing their mechanics.
The interface is different right now than it was when we recorded it this morning, when we were on there this morning.
Right, just even from this morning, exactly. And let's then review the week that was. Hey, that's got to be. Isn't that a CBC thing?
I I like that. The week that was. Is that a thing already?
Well, we're gonna make it.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay, my friend. Thank you.
Okay. Have a good night.
Yeah, you bet.